All right, imagine standing on the deck of a massive cargo ship in the middle of the ocean. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're mapping out the epic, gritty, and surprisingly lucrative journey within the Merchant Navy. We're going to trace the exact step-by-step progression from scrubbing decks and chipping rust as an entry-level ordinary seaman all the way up to commanding the navigational bridge. If you've ever wondered how someone literally builds a career out on the open ocean, you are in exactly the right place.
So here is our voyage plan for today. 1. Life as an ordinary seaman. 2. The realities of sea life. 3. Earning your sea legs. 4. Salaries, perks, and sacrifices. 5. Climbing to third mate. And 6. The future of shipping. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. Life as an ordinary seaman, the absolute starting line. You know that package you just ordered from halfway across the globe? Well, an ordinary seaman helped get it to your front door. The Ordinary Seaman, or OS for short, is the entry-level unlicensed crew member in the deck department. Honestly, they are the absolute backbone of a merchant vessel. Without an OS tackling the grueling fundamental daily tasks, these massive commercial giants simply couldn't operate safely or efficiently. Working closely under the supervision of the chief mate and the bosun, this is where almost every single deck officer first cuts their teeth.
So what does a typical day actually look like? Well, it's incredibly physically demanding. Ships are in a constant, never-ending battle against saltwater corrosion, so an OS spends hours out on deck chipping rust, polishing, and painting. They're constantly applying grease to crane wires and moving parts. They're tasked with washing the main deck, cleaning out massive cargo holds, and getting right down into the bilges. But here's a kind of quirky fact. Their general assistance duties often tap into their own hidden talents. You might find an OS fixing computer issues, organizing the crew's holiday party, or surprisingly, even acting as the onboard barber giving haircuts to the rest of the crew.
Now, an OS has to completely shapeshift their role depending on where the ship is. When the ship is in port, the job is all about heavy lifting and strict security. They act as the vital gangway watch, tightly logging exactly who comes on and off the vessel. They handle massive, incredibly heavy mooring ropes, assist with anchoring, and do extensive cargo lashing checks. But when that ship heads out to sea, the job profoundly shifts to one of immense responsibility. They spend 4 hours during the day and 4 hours at night on a navigational watch. They literally become the eyes of the ship, acting as a critical lookout for hazards, buoys, and other vessels. And, get this, they even take the wheel to manually steer the massive ship as the helmsman.
Which brings us to part 2, the realities of sea life. The crucible. Let's be real for a second. Seafaring is an intense psychological and physical pressure cooker. You are working outside in absolutely all weather conditions. We're talking brutal storms, freezing rain, and blistering heat. You're dealing with strict 4-on, 8-off watch schedules that can easily lead to deep, bone-aching fatigue. Plus, it requires immense mental resilience to handle those long contracts separated from your family, sometimes with spotty or non-existent internet access. To survive these remote, dangerous conditions, seafarers rely heavily on teamwork, building a really tight-knit brotherhood among what is almost always a completely multinational crew.
And because the ocean is inherently dangerous, safety isn't just a buzzword, it is absolutely paramount. During mandatory drills, the OS has to master high-stakes survival skills. They need to know exactly how to deploy life rafts during a chaotic abandoned ship scenario. They train heavily to use breathing apparatus for firefighting. They execute man-overboard rescues and deploy rapid responses for oil pollution. Their rank might be entry-level, sure, but their flawless execution of these emergency procedures, it's literally a matter of life and death for the entire ship.
Moving to part 3, earning your sea legs. What's the actual price of admission?
You can't just walk up a gangway and ask for a job. There are some serious baseline hurdles to clear first. Generally speaking, you need a minimum of a high school diploma or a 10th pass equivalent. You also have to pass incredibly strict medical clearances. For instance, you absolutely cannot have color blindness, and your eyesight and hearing must be excellent. There is a strict zero-tolerance policy for drugs and alcohol. But most importantly, you have to complete foundational STCW courses. That's Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping. These mandatory courses cover your personal survival techniques and critical first aid. Now, the exact mountain of paperwork you need kind of depends on where you call home. Global maritime authorities enforce the baseline regulations, but your specific documents will vary. For example, in the US, the Coast Guard requires you to get a TWIC, which is a specialized security clearance card, along with a Merchant Mariner Credential, or MMC.
Over in India, you'd need an INDOS registration number and a continuous discharge certificate approved by the Directorate General of Shipping. Wherever you are, getting this specialized documentation squared away is your golden ticket to ride.
All right, part 4. Salaries, perks, and sacrifices. The treasure, so to speak. So why do people put themselves through all of this? Well, the massive earning potential for an entry-level worker with zero prior experience is a massive draw. But there are some stark global salary differences for an ordinary seaman. While salaries in India might range from $800 to $1,500 a month and China between $1,000 and $2,000, US ratings can pull in between $3,000 to $5,000 a month right out of the gate. And keep in mind, while you're on board, your food, accommodation, and travel are entirely paid for, so it's almost pure profit. But look, you absolutely have to juxtapose these pros with the heavy cons. The perks are undeniable, right? Incredibly high tax-free savings, traveling the globe, and a clear path to a prestigious career. But the sacrifices? They are equally heavy. The grueling isolation, missing major family milestones like birthdays and weddings, the sheer physical exhaustion, and of course, the constant, inherent danger of working on the open ocean. It's a true test of endurance.
Section 5. Climbing to third mate, your roadmap for promotion. Okay, say you've put in the time. How do you actually get off the deck and onto the bridge? Well, you usually start as a green trainee ordinary seaman or a deck cadet. After racking up sea time, usually over a couple of contracts, and completing your Able Seafarer's deck training, you get promoted to Able Seaman. From there, by logging even more sea days, passing strict competency exams, and getting your officer in charge of a navigational watch license, you finally step up to become a third mate. And the amazing thing? The ladder doesn't stop there. It continues all the way up to the captain's chair.
But listen, advancing isn't just about waiting your turn or time served. You have to pair onboard training with a very clear career matrix. From third officer, you can climb to chief officer, and eventually, captain. But it requires active, intense learning. You have to meticulously document your onboard training in an official record book. You need to master incredibly complex things like bridge resource management, advanced firefighting, and electronic chart display systems. It requires pure, unadulterated dedication to the actual craft of seamanship.
Finally, Part 6. The future of shipping. Looking at the horizon. Here is the bottom line. Shipping is the literal backbone of global trade. Over 80% of all international trade in goods is carried by sea. Because of this massive scale, there will be a continuous, unstoppable demand for tough, qualified seafarers. Even with rapid advancements in maritime technology, the industry is always going to need skilled humans to navigate, maintain, and secure these massive vessels. It remains one of the most stable and respected professions worldwide. So honestly, the next time you see a massive container ship on the horizon, remember the vital human element that makes it all possible. We've explored the gritty realities today, the endless rust chipping, the hazardous storms, and the deep isolation. But we've also seen the massive financial rewards and the clear, highly structured path from the lowest deckhand all the way to the captain's chair. So, knowing everything involved in this epic journey, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. Do you have the resilience, the grit, and the drive to weather the storm and earn your place on the bridge?